Hello and welcome back to TNWKS, the Now We Know show, the show where we discuss a topic of interest and by the end we will have learnt something new and hopefully you will too. I'm Zak.
And I'm Buzz, and it is amazing. I am so pumped for this particular episode.
Oh, yes.
Because we have got our favourite cryptozoologist back in the studio. It is Glenn. Yes, greetings, Glenn.
Hi guys,
it's so
how you all
good.
doing?
So glad to have you back in because you have been off to the Bigfoot Bash.
Yep.
Yes, which was held down in Somerset.
That's right.
And you're here to tell us all about that.
Yep.
If you enjoy the Now We Know show podcast, support Zak Wylde Productions on Patreon or join our members on YouTube for early access, ad-free content and exclusive episodes.
Here we are back in the Dungeon Studio, and we've got Glenn, who's going to tell us all about the latest updates to do with Bigfoot, our hairy big friend from all over the world.
Are you talking about Glenn or Bigfoot?
I'm talking about Bigfoot. But Glenn, I suppose you could classify him as big and hairy.
I'm not that hairy.
You've got a beard. There you go.
Luckily, my family Baldness skips a generation, so I'm that generation
Yeah.
that gets to keep my hair.
Keep your hair. See, yeah, so for somebody who shaves his head, you're hairy. Anyway, but before we get into that, it's time for Weird and Wonderful. And this week, I've brought in the Weird and Wonderful story.
I have absolutely no idea what you're going to bring up.
Aha! This was very interesting, and it caught my attention this week because, as you'll find out, it's quite a fun little Weird and Wonderful story. Okay, here's the title: Boy finds Holy Grail Lego piece that was lost at sea for 27 years.
Oh,
There you go.
okay.
Yeah, I remember reading this.
There you go. Oh, that was a brilliant story.
Go on.
So, in 1997, a cargo ship went down off the coast of Cornwall, and one of the containers had around 5 million pieces of Lego in it. And they all went into the sea. Now, of course, over the years, what's happened is the containers rust, rot, and start letting loose their
Lego contents.
Lego contents.
I remember at the time, hundreds of people went down to the beaches in the area looking for Lego.
And anyway, this young teenager has spent past years basically beachcombing and doing a really good job collecting any Lego that has been washed up, because that in itself is a great thing, because he's clearing the beaches of basically what is plastic, you see. But all the time he's been after this Holy Grail of the Lego octopus.
A watopus?
A Lego octopus. They only ever made 4,200 of these octopi.
And how many went down with?
Well, they were all in the container.
They were all in the container. Oh,
That's
wow.
right.
You sure it wasn't a real one he found?
You see, he's been looking for this for so many years, since he was a little kiddie wiggle. Kiddie wiggle? Is that a thing? I don't know.
He
But
is
he's now. So he was a little kiddie wiggle, and he's been collecting these. And he finally, this week, while he was beachcombing, found this Holy Grail of
Legendary
Lego,
octopus.
the legendary octopus.
Have
I've
you
got a
got a
photo.
picture?
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, crikey. So it's like a black...
Well, I don't know if it was
Octopus.
black. It might have turned black, but
I actually
it's a
expect...
full, complete octopus that I assume connects to the rest of your Lego.
Yeah, when they came out, I remember them being green.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a black, kind of solid bit of plastic, doesn't it? I was kind of expecting a bit of like articulation on the tentacles, but no, it doesn't seem to.
Well, if you think about how small Lego bits are, that's
Yeah.
going to be like that.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah, according to that photo, yeah.
so
It's pretty small.
he was really happy that he's found that this week. Now, that's kind of weird, and it's kind of wonderful.
Yeah.
And it's great, and it's wonderful that he's been clearing up all of these pieces of Lego. But now he has another goal,
Okay.
okay? Because also in the container of Lego were 33,941 Lego dragons.
Has he not found a single one of those yet?
No, they haven't been found, you see. So the dragons went missing, and so he wants to find a Lego dragon next. Isn't that good?
I mean, considering he managed to find the rarer octopus, he's onto a,
Well, he
onto
says,
a winner there.
he says, I think there's something quite magical about the octopuses. Is it octopuses or octopi?
Octopi.
I would have said octopi.
Octopisms.
He said they're often seen as the holy grail of finds from the shipping container. See, so there you go. So he found his holy grail, but now he's going to go and search for
A dragon.
a dragon.
I
instead.
might head down there myself and see if I can find a Lego Ghostbusters firehouse.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
They do that, do they?
Very well, they've been discontinued, which is
So
the prices
do you-
are ridiculous.
Do you know
now.
if they had them in the container?
Probably not.
Okay,
We can hope.
we can hope. Anyway, so there you go. So that's my weird and wonderful story. Is that nice? It's a nice story.
It's pretty weird. It's nice.
It's kind of weird, kind of nice, and it's keeping the plastic off the beaches,
Yeah.
which is what we need in these
Or
days.
very specifically, the Lego.
Yeah, the Lego plastic, not the what's the other little stuff they always have? The little beads that's everywhere in the ocean these days. I can't think of them. Noodles. They call them noodles, but they're tiny little, not like swimming noodles, the big long ones.
I'm
but
just imagining eatable noodles.
no, these are little.
Yeah,
little,
I think
little
the kind of
plastic
stuff you
things.
get from like exfoliating rubs, that
That's
kind
it.
of thing.
Those tiny, they're
Yeah.
the tiny little microplastics that are in the fish and in us as well. I
Yeah.
reckon.
Yeah.
We eat them.
Yes, we're full of plastic these days. It's like Doctor Who coming true, isn't it?
Autons.
Yes, we're all becoming autons.
It's the big invasion plan you never knew.
You never knew. They'll switch it on one day, and all the plastic will come to life. That's it. Oh no, your hand isn't turning into a gun,
good. We're all
however
good.
much Glenn tries. I wonder what you're doing in the corner then, Glenn. Anyway, right, the Bigfoot Bash. This is what I have really, well, not just me, but you as well, Zach. We have been really looking forward to finding out, because this is obviously going to be an update on all things Bigfoot.
Because that was the thing. We actually brought it up in a previous episode, I think. And now we get to find out all
We
about it.
get to find out. So, Glenn, take us on this wonderful journey. What happened at the weekend?
So, this was a conference about Bigfoot in general, and it was the first time ever that 3 of the top Bigfoot researchers have come over from the United States to meet and greet and talk about experiences with us, the public.
The serfdom. The serfdom.
Serfdom.
The plebeians.
Oh,
No. It's the what you mean is the UK Bigfoot researchers and those interested in cryptozoology.
Yes, yeah. There was quite a few people there also to do with the paranormal world, because one of the researchers, he's big on, he does Bigfoot, he does paranormal, he does UFOs, aliens, orbs.
Do you have his name?
Ronny LeBlanc.
Oh, it's a
or
good old-
LeBlanc.
That's good old Ronnie. Do you remember
good
we
old
discussed
Ronnie.
Ronnie
Yeah,
LeBlanc?
yeah.
I said he should have been in Hello Hello. I am Ronnie LeBlanc.
So
He
yes,
sounds a nice guy.
yeah.
do you know what he really is?
Did you get to meet him, did you?
I got to meet him. He's also an author. He's done a few books. I actually looked at buying one of the books to get it signed. I went on a couple of different sites. Very expensive, but luckily he had some with him, which I have a copy here. Monsterland.
Monsterland.
Ooh.
By Ronnie LeBlanc.
Signed.
Oh,
Hey.
by Ronnie
Awesome.
LeBlanc.
Yes, and a lot cheaper than the ones found on certain retail sites.
Sites. Certain auction sites, yes.
Certain auction sites, yes.
Is it a good book? Have you just started reading it? or-
I haven't. No, I've come back from the Bigfoot Bash on Sunday. I've picked my dog up. I've gone home and I've just slept because I've had a very busy, long week.
I know. We asked you specially to come into the studio, and you look as if you could do with a really good night's
You
sleep.
very
bless
kindly
you.
indulged
You
us.
very kindly came in to speak to us on the behalf of our listeners as well. I'm just taken back by the title of this. Not only is it called Monsterland, but it's called Encounters with UFOs, Bigfoot, and Orange Orbs.
Yeah, so Ronnie comes from Massachusetts, and there is an area in the north of Massachusetts which they call it Monsterland, but it's
Right. I want to go.
some people have described it as a bit like the
Is it like a
Bermuda
hotspot?
Triangle of North America. And I really wanted to go. He's actually doing a research trip to some of his local spots there at some point in the next couple of months. I wanted to go, but I've got a very poorly dog at the moment.
Okay.
She's
Oh,
getting
bless
old
her.
now. So I didn't really want to leave her and go off to
Well,
the
that's
States for
understandable.
this, just yet. But yeah, anybody can. I think they've probably sold out now, but anybody can sign up for these research trips. I mean, it's more, I think, towards aimed towards fans who want to try and get into it. There's a few different ones going on this year with different guys and girls from the research, Bigfoot research and paranormal researchers across the states. One of my favourite researchers, Russ Acord, he's also doing one, which again I would have loved to have gone, but it's just not great timing for me at the moment.
But you've got this area you say is called Monsterland.
Yeah.
And so what's it? What is it with the orange orbs?
Yeah, I was going to ask that question.
Right.
That's what jumped out at me. The orange orbs. I've heard of orbs. People seeing orbs and orbs flying around doing odd things, but specifically orange orbs.
So, I'll be honest, I'm not sure. I've never really followed the whole orb thing. I know they exist. I know they exist in lots of different areas, UFOs, aliens, paranormal activity. You see a lot of orbs with that. And occasionally, they're usually in the same area where Bigfoot sightings happen as well. Now, somebody
It's the Xanu.
Potentially.
Somebody came up with a theory, or theory recently about orbs, which kind of blew my mind.
Okay.
And that leads me into the next guest, because it was his theory.
Right.
Ryan Golembeske,
Okay.
our RGP, as he's known in the world of Bigfoot research. And his idea behind it, behind orbs, is they are possibly drones.
Oh yes. From my research into UFOs or UAPs as they're known now, drones are something that people are starting to think about. That these things like the Tic Tac, and that are actually drones sent from other alien people.
But the other thing Ryan has also commented on about orbs is, so they're possibly drones, but they're also possibly drones from either our future. So maybe academics are sending these drones back in time to have a look at our history, or they're from the past. There's a lot of people who have this idea that our civilization was not the first on this planet. And more artifacts are being found in the last few years that defy logic of how they have become to be.
Yeah, I think there's a terminology. Can't quite come to mind right now, but it's when archaeologists discover certain items that don't seem to fit into the archaeological record, they sort of sideline them.
Yes.
And it's kind of these artifacts which don't fit in. For the mainstream archaeologists and historians, they kind of say, we'll ignore that.
Yes. Yeah.
Because we don't have an explanation. Which is very interesting, because they had, slightly off tangent here, they had Roman dodecahedrons that had been found. I think they found, I don't know, half a dozen or some of these. I don't know if you've seen it on the news. It's like a bronze dodecahedron. It's like an empty container. If you see
it's like a shell.
Like a shell. So it's like a big dice that you'd play Dungeons and Dragons with. Yeah.
Don't get them started on that.
Each of the flat sides has a hole in it, and the inside is empty.
Fisher Price come out of a toy like that.
And it's got, well, it's interesting you say it, and it's got sort of nodular projections on each of the pointy corners.
Yeah.
Okay, so it kind of can stand it up in any way you turn it, it would stand on those nodules.
Yeah.
But they're trying to work out what it could have been for, and then they went into, is it something that is for sort of like measuring distance? Is it some kind of scientific device? Is it I think they get a couple of other suggestions they had about whether it was this or that, and then they come down to the usual one, which is it must be
for religious purposes.
Religion and ritual. Now, not being funny, I looked at that and I thought, first thing I noticed was all the holes are different sizes on it. So it's just got one hole on each face. Big hole, slightly smaller hole, tiny little hole. Just reminded me, do you remember those dodecahedron plastic toys you got as kids?
Yeah.
That are half blue and half yellow?
That's right,
And you stuck different shapes in it. And I just thought to myself, okay, this is bronze and it's survived. But if you had different pegs that only fitted those holes, and maybe those pegs could have a flat surface on that went flat on each side, and they were made of wood, they wouldn't last. But it just looks like a kid's toy.
Yeah.
It just looks like,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, that was a posh Roman family's child's toy that perhaps whatever slots into those different holes, just like we had the different shaped ones, they'd go, right, the game here is to see how fast you can put the different shapes in, find the right hole and put it in. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And they might have had pictures on the outside of each side or something. Yeah. But they wouldn't last because they're made of wood.
But why,
Yeah.
why do you think
but
it's explained by always this ongoing thing about
Religion
it
and
was for
ritual.
religious purposes?
I know, but I just looked at that and I thought, that's a kid's toy.
So another idea, possibly a building tool of some kind. Obviously, when you're building things,
Yeah, you use plumb weights and things.
Yeah, but you also use pegs too. So maybe you're looking at a structure you're building over there, and you want a certain size peg.
Uh-huh.
Oh, we do this one,
Okay.
like a measuring device.
It's like something you go, right, yeah, that fits. That's the right size. Yeah, you have them in drill boxes for your drills. Only the right drill will fit in the right hole. Who knows? But anyway, it's just very interesting. But I do think that sometimes archaeologists, overthink things.
Oh yeah,
You know,
definitely.
overthink things.
Definitely.
But going back to what you were saying, there's a lot of these items which don't fit in the archaeological record.
One that comes to mind is there was a device which some people have described as the first ever computer, which
yes.
lots of cogs and.
Was that
and
taken out of a galley that had sunk or something?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a fascinating piece of it. It just looks very, very high tech, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's all.
But it's. I mean, to build something like that wouldn't have been an issue back then. But there was nothing at the time, I think, that was around that why would they have built this? What was it for?
It seemed a very, very complex device
Yeah.
for a time where you wouldn't think that they would have anything that needed to be as complicated.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you look at some of the designs that Da Vinci did, some of those were way before their time. But this device, it predates that quite a bit, I believe.
There's, I mean, that's the thing. Even when it comes on, I know I mentioned about that thing that I'm guessing it's a Roman toy, but again, the engineering that does go into toys when you consider the most intricate clockwork mechanisms that have used over the centuries making clockwork toys and things. And I think, wasn't it in was it the Greek period where somebody had a clockwork horse that they could ride? There was a king or somebody who had a clockwork horse.
That's ringing a bell.
You know, it's just there are some surprising things
Like
that could
engineering feats
that were used that have gone by the wayside over
Yeah,
the
I mean,
century.
one of the other things, obviously, if you look at the pyramids, how did they actually build
Oh, don't
them?
start me on
I
the
mean,
pyramid. Gravity was different back then.
Who's seen Stargate?
Yes, they align with Orion's belt. They're not tombs, they are
Landing platforms.
landing platforms or teleportation devices to get to the gods. We don't know. But anyway, I'm being facetious, aren't I?
Kind of.
Kind of. Anyway, but I do feel like with the amount of erosion that is on the Sphinx body, but not the head, that the head itself, I reckon that was recarved. I reckon that should have been a
I've
jackal.
heard that as well, yes.
It looks more like that it should have been a jackal, and then somebody at some point, some pharaoh said, "I want my face on that," so they changed
Why
it.
not just build another one? Honestly.
I did see something recently. So there's a place in America. I can't remember where. It's possibly near the Grand Canyon, and they have found a rock structure,
Formation, yes, I've seen the photos.
and it looks just like the Sphinx.
The two arms
Yeah.
coming out, and then the only thing that's missing is the head.
Yeah, yeah.
I have seen that photograph. You know, it's one of those things that you see, but without researching it more, you don't know whether it's been, these days especially, AI generated or manipulated or whatever. So, you know,
Don't
these
get me
things.
started on AI.
These things need a little bit more looking into. But anyway, back to the Bigfoot Bash.
To the Bigfoot Bash,
Yes.
yes. Okay, so Ronnie LeBlanc was there, or LeBlanc. Sorry, I was going to ask him how he actually pronounces it, but I never got round
Ronnie
to it.
LeBlanc. Just say Ronnie LeBlanc. It's a great way of saying it, isn't it? Hello, Ronnie.
Where,
Yes, we get it, Buzz.
So I can't help myself.
I always think of Pepe Le Pew.
And,
But yeah, anyway, so Ronny LeBlanc, obviously from Expedition Bigfoot, my probably favourite Bigfoot TV
yeah, I've
show.
seen some of those.
And then you had from Finding Bigfoot, you had Ryan Golembeske, who some people may or may not know, he did actually do 1 or 2 episodes of Expedition Bigfoot as well.
Okay.
And we get onto that in a minute because it's a discussion I've had with him a couple of times online and on Sunday when I was talking with him. But he started off on Expedition Bigfoot, and then something happened and he had to leave, and that's when Ronnie stepped in.
Right.
Then also from Finding Bigfoot, you had Ranae, the skeptical scientist.
Oh, that's the lady, isn't it?
That's the lady.
Ranae.
She is.
It's turning into an episode of Hello, Hello.
She's absolutely lovely. She's just so.
Oh, Ranae.
Not that kind of lovely. Sorry, Ranae. She's just.
That was an Hello, Hello quote, by the way.
I know.
They've probably never even heard of Hello, Hello.
Look it up, listeners.
But yeah, she's just such a calming way about her. Such a soothing voice. I could listen to her for ages. And for somebody who's called the skeptical scientist, is
she more open-minded than you expected?
I think so. Yeah, I definitely think so. But yeah, so there was an episode of Expedition Bigfoot. And something that's always interested me is infrasound.
Yes.
And so on the first or second episode of Expedition, Ryan Golembeske became very, very ill. And he had to drop out. And a lot of people, including himself, think it's possibly he got hit with infrasound on a massive scale.
So this is sound that is above the level of human hearing.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Right. Okay, I was going to ask what it was.
So it's a bit like when we're doing the bat surveying and we're getting the really high frequency bat calls that you just can't hear with a human. Some of them, when you get that wonderful time when you get some of the bats, like the brown longheads, they call and you right in the dawn, early dawn, and there's no other sound around before the birds start singing, you can actually sometimes hear it.
Yeah.
And it's such a wonderful sound to hear.
Yeah, I've been in at a garden party in France once, and everything was dying down, and we were just sitting around a table watching the bats above us, and we could pick up on
you suddenly
that.
tune in on it. It's like, wow, that's amazing. Anyway, so infrasound is they're using it like some kind of
Sonic weapon.
Yeah, so it's something that's mostly related to apex predators. So giant cats, bears, other creatures. I think walruses give it off as well, and they call it the fear frequency. And it's if you get hit with this. Apes as well, gorillas especially, they give off infrasound. When you get hit with it, it's so if anybody's ever
is it designed to sort of paralyse prey or something?
Yes.
Right, I got you.
So if anybody's maybe walked down a country lane at night on their own and you feel butterflies in your stomach, or you're walking through woods and the slightest sound here and there, it's just
amplified.
Yeah. So this frequency is hidden within their roars and their growls. So he possibly got a massive hit off whatever it was out in the woods that night.
Did they assume that perhaps it was a Bigfoot?
That's the assumption, yes.
Right.
So I've been looking at ways of dealing with that for when I'm out in the field.
Earplugs. Sorry.
I'm not sure earplugs would work because it's at a frequency that you're not hearing, you're more feeling it.
Feeling it, okay.
So I had an idea for climatising myself to it by listening to it often.
Okay.
And I've even started mixing it in with the Sierra Nevada Bigfoot sounds.
Oh yes, we heard that on one of our previous podcasts.
So I was chatting to Ryan about this, and he's actually he's ordered a new device. It's brand new on the market, and it's actually coming from Ukraine, of all places. And it's not only can it be programmed to give off these different frequencies, but you can also use it to block these frequencies.
A bit like white noise then.
Yeah.
Sort of like an anti-sound.
Yes, yeah. So it'd be interesting to see how that works out in the field when he does get it, and they hopefully will use it on the on the show.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, what are the latest updates on Bigfoot? Have we got any new videos or recordings, sightings?
The place is flooded at the moment with for some reason in the last 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
It's got massive.
Really?
Absolutely massive.
I've been listening to our podcast.
Hopefully, yes.
I've been listening to you, Glenn.
So yeah, there's footage coming out weekly, new footage. Some of it, it's pretty convincing. Other bits are. I mean, I think I've said before that if I'm watching footage, if it doesn't move, I dismiss it.
Right.
Because pareidolia.
Mm-hmm. Which, for those people listening who haven't heard of that particular word, it means that the mind tries to fit it in with something that they they'll find a face if the brain will suddenly see something in something.
Exactly, yeah.
Anyway, so I thought I'd chuck that in for those people that hadn't caught it.
Something really good came out this week actually, or over the weekend. There's a guy on YouTube called Finker Funker.
Finker Funker,
yeah. It's strange, but he's come up with an amazing technique to test footage of Bigfoot, to say whether it's real or if it's a guy in a suit.
Mm-hmm.
So,
has he tested this on the famous footage from
the Patty footage?
Yeah.
He has, yes.
And what was his results on that?
His results were it's legitimate. There's no way it could be human.
I still look at that, and I know it's such. And I've seen people where they've. What's the word that we use in the film industry these days when you clean something up? When you get.
What do you mean?
When you get an original movie and then they.
Restore.
That's it. Well, restore. Yeah, they restore the footage, but really crisped it up.
Yeah, restoration.
That's it. So when you get these old movies and they're really polished,
like high definition transfer.
Yeah.
We're going to kick ourselves for
we
getting
are.
this
Arrow Video do it all the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Restorations.
Let's just use restoration. Okay, so they've restored the original footage, but they've really 4K'd it, and you look at it and you go, it's just so real. It is so. I cannot see that because that was cine film, wasn't it? That was cine film, and I cannot see how that could. It just does not look fake in any way, shape, or form. That it does not look like somebody in a female Bigfoot suit. In fact, I even find that odd. Why would you, if you wanted to fake it, you think, I know, I'm going to dress up as a female Bigfoot. I mean, make sure it's got
big thingies.
big thingies. Yes.
If you talk to the guy who claims he was in the suit, he says that those breasts were American footballs tucked into the suit.
It doesn't look.
Why would you do that? Who would think of doing that?
Because you would imagine if you say we're going to make a Bigfoot suit, you wouldn't even think that. You're just making a male Bigfoot, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Make it non-specific.
And and we've said it before, the way the arms move, the length of the arms and things, it looks.
It's funny you say that because one of the things Finker Funker does, it's all about proportions, body proportions.
Mm-hmm.
So
body mechanics,
top arm, body mechanics as well, lower arm, how far they drop down. Torso proportions. Now, he's worked it out to a percentage of what a human proportion would be and what a Bigfoot proportion would be. And they're just miles apart.
Well, in that Patterson video, the arms are that much longer, but I'm sure, I don't need to watch it again, but I'm sure the fingers, the hands move.
Yeah.
Which means, but that a human's arm wouldn't be that long, which means you'd have to have some mechanism built into the suit to make the fingers.
That would become natural, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but it's kind of like over-engineering what you would need if you're doing a hoax.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're doing something which is like 21st century movie-style prosthetics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They wouldn't think of doing that. They say, no, just stick a gorilla suit on, whatever, and we'll just pretend it's a. It looks so real.
Yeah,
I still, for me, that is a good bit of video.
Yeah.
So this bit of video that he's recently worked on, it came out last year. And so this couple are driving down a lane somewhere in the US, and I think they purportedly hit something, which at first they thought was a deer.
Oh, as long as it's not a werewolf, you're all right. We've seen that so many times on movies. You don't get out of the car because you're going to get bitten, and then it's all going wrong.
It's funny you should say that, because I had this thing in my head yesterday, and I can't answer it, but we'll get back to that in a second. Anyway,
Okay.
this bit of footage, they've apparently hit something, so they're reversing up this lane, and they've got on board a camera.
Oh yeah, the reversing cameras. Yeah. Because
yeah.
these days cars usually have them reverse and forward.
And all of a
cameras.
sudden, this Bigfoot starts chasing them up the lane, and Thinker Thunker has gone in and he's done his magic with this bit of footage.
I'm gonna have to look this up.
Yeah.
It's an amazing bit of footage, and at the time I was thinking it looks a bit silly, but it also, I don't know if you ever watched Friends.
Yeah,
There's one of them where they go jogging,
Don't recall the episode.
and Phoebe she runs in a particular
In a
way
weird
where
way.
her arms are all waving
All
all
over.
over, and that's what this Bigfoot is doing. But it's catching up with the car.
Okay. So it must have a big stride.
Yeah. So yeah, Thinker Funker, he's gone in, he's done his stuff, and it's.
I'm gonna look that one up. I mean, for me, the Patron video and the photo from the I can never pronounce it. Dyatlov Pass. They're the most striking things that I've ever seen when it comes to evidence.
Definitely.
So we've got this new, obviously, technique to analyse videos. So what other latest news do we have? Have we had any, other really good sightings? or anything?
Anything in the UK?
Oh yes, of course, because we've had recently the Cornish Bigfoot. Is it Cornish or Devon? It's Cornish Bigfoot.
It's.
Do they speak about that down there at all?
We have spoken about it. So we have a weekly or fortnightly Zoom meeting. All the researchers in this particular group, Mythical Legends group, and I brought it up a couple of weeks ago. If anything further has been done about it, and yeah, the footprint that was found,
It's still iffy, is it?
yeah, it's still iffy.
Did they mention this at the Bigfoot Bash at all?
We didn't mention that, no. But what they did do was, so Daniel, the guy who started all this and organised the Bigfoot Bash and the Cryptid Conference.
Yes,
later
we're looking
in July.
forward. So we're going in July to that one.
Oh yes.
It's going to be amazing.
So the Now We Know show will be at the
On
Cryptid
the road show.
on the road. We'll be there at the Cryptid Conference.
So Daniel and a couple of others were joined by Ryan, Ronny, and ranae, and they went out to
I just realised
Three
it's
R's.
Ryan,
the
Ronnie,
three
and
R's.
Renee.
That's what they call them. Yes. They went out to where the eDNA was found last year.
Oh yes.
And they shot a documentary.
Okay, I was wondering what you were going to say then.
We shot Bigfoot.
No, they didn't
We
shoot
shot
Bigfoot.
Renee.
No.
So yeah, looking forward to seeing that. That's going to be out later on this year, I believe.
Great.
Myself and a few of the other researchers, we've got a few things in the pipeline as well. Not just Bigfoot, but also paranormal investigations.
Are these things you're doing in the UK?
Yes, yeah. So we're doing some stuff up at Cannock Chase. We've
Excellent.
also got. I don't want to go into it too much because it's still early days, but we've got an investigation based in Cambridgeshire we're dealing with,
Okay.
and also
Very interesting. 'Cause that's on our borders.
Yes.
Yes, on our doorstep.
Well, the teams are split into areas in the UK, so obviously we try and do our local places.
So you can't say a lot, but is there something happening over that way then on the cryptozoology front?
Possibly.
Ooh,
Yes.
intriguing. I look forward to when you can
Finding
tell us
out
about
what
it.
it is.
The one I will tell you about is the one in Thetford. So in the last few years, there's been 3 or 4 sightings of something around the Thetford area.
Okay.
Was there a
I was
description?
going to
at all?
say, I haven't been over there for a while, so it can't be hairy old Buzz.
People who have seen this creature are describing it as grey fur,
Okay. Definitely not me then.
primate looking,
Could be me.
between 5 and 6 foot
Still could be me.
tall.
Wrong colour fur, that's the thing. I'm too ginger I'm ginger and grey these days.
As far as I know, there has been no proper
So
investigation.
we're
into this
looking at some
area.
kind of grey primate,
Yes.
but
yeah.
large.
Yes.
basically upright walking.
But it's not just one sighting, and it's spread over a couple of years.
Wow.
Ooh.
Now, this is intriguing.
We're going to have to go on an investigation.
Yeah, we are. We're going to have to go out there. Now, just a little while back, I was joking about running over werewolves in your car, and you were going to say something.
Yeah, so this,
I
mean,
Oh, yeah.
I want to bring you back to that.
This is a little bit light-hearted, but Bigfoot and the Hendersons.
Yes, I remember the show.
How did John Lithgow get Bigfoot onto the roof of his car on his own? Because the kids were too small. His wife wasn't exactly, strong.
Just like they built the pyramids, I suppose.
Gravity
was different back then.
See, I actually think the pyramids were built using quantum locking, but that's probably a whole different podcast.
That's a whole different podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That
so
sounds
we
cool.
like things like this. I mean, recently we've covered time travel.
Yeah.
We've covered
Chemtrails.
So yeah, we would be very intrigued to hear all about quantum locking.
It's a scientific
Would the Peruvians
thing.
have used that as well?
Okay, so possibly. Have you ever seen those executive toys where you've got, for example, one I've seen a lot of is it's got a little DeLorean that floats.
Yeah, I assume that was magnetised.
That is,
yeah, reverse, like you'd have on a monorail.
Yeah. So quantum locking is.
Oh yes, it's starting to come to me now.
So it's magnets, but they change for temperature.
Yeah, I was going to
much.
say they have to go very, very cold with it.
So they have to. So that it changes the molecular weight structure of whatever
I've
it is.
seen an experiment with that where they had. It was literally like dry ice cold magnets.
Yeah.
And then they put a little vehicle on it. And just like let it go, and it just kept going like almost like perpetual motion. This thing was flying around.
Well, if you watch a YouTube channel called Hacksmith,
Yep.
he built a hoverboard using this technology.
Ooh.
That's pretty cool.
Yes, very much Marty McFly.
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future.
Great Scott.
Yes. Wow. So anyway, back to
88 miles an hour.
we went through this on the time travel podcast, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
We did. Go listen to it if you haven't listened to it. Anyway, back to the Bigfoot Bash.
Back to the Bigfoot Bash. Okay, so there was a Q&A. Also, you got to talk to the guys, the 3 hours as well, which was great. They were really nice and welcoming. Then we went into the main hall and they went up on stage, and people asked questions, and it was great. It was most of the questions were more of what got you into it, what started it all, what's your most memorable.
I was going to say, do they actually at these
researching.
conferences like this? Do they present evidence? Do they show you the latest sort of like video evidence
So they did
or
at
photos?
the one last year, and I expect they will at the Cryptid Conference this year.
Good.
But this one was really more about Ryan, Ranae, and Ronny,
Right.
and their personal
their story
Yeah.
of what they've experienced. Yeah?
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff.
Did you find out anything that you didn't already know that was really intriguing?
No. I say.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
The build-up.
that was a big build up there, Glenn.
This is my curse. I research and I read this stuff till.
It's coming at your
Yeah,
ears.
I can see it.
There is so much junk in my brain.
Uh-huh.
If you're going to do a pub quiz, I'm the guy to have on your team. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this book written by Ronny, because hopefully that will give me more insight into.
I certainly admire the front cover.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
It's like some
Does it have a
eyes.
synopsis out of interest?
Yeah, shall I read it?
Yeah, go for
for it.
Go for the synopsis.
There is an area known in the locals of Leominster, Massachusetts as Monsterland. There are sightings of UFOs, Bigfoot and orange orbs. They have been coming and going for years. But where are they coming from? Why are they here? It seems that the state of Massachusetts has had a long history of sightings and encounters with these mysterious entities, and they are occurring in the present day. Could all of these events somehow be connected? What is so special about Leominster that they have plagued the area for so long? Author and researcher Ronny LeBlanc of Leominster thinks that he might have the answers to some of these questions. but the answers lead to a whole new understanding of the unknown. Welcome to Monsterland.
Ooh, that does sound like a fascinating read. I have to say, it's given me the urge to go over there, just so I can go around annoying people by saying, it's Lemster! It's Lemster! Not Leominster!
Yeah, my apologies if I pronounced that wrong.
Well, certainly don't say that if you go to Leominster in England. They go, Lemster! I got told off for that. Yes, but anyway, that's a different story altogether. But that book sounds absolutely fascinating, and
he signed it for me.
He signed it for you. So, what have we got to look forward to in July? We've got this cryptid conference, which sounds like it's going to be an absolute blast.
Yep, more researchers, both from the UK and America. A online talk from Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum, which I'm really looking forward to. That guy's amazing. The amount of knowledge that comes out of him from the scientific side of things is brilliant. Yeah, it's and hopefully as long as myself and a couple of the other researchers we can get out and do this stuff, maybe we'll be getting up and having a talk to people.
That would
about
be because you said, I'm just going to reiterate what you said a little bit earlier, is you're out to do some research trips in the UK, aren't you?
Yes.
Did you say one of those was to go and research Dogman?
So that's something I want to do at some point. I know I mentioned this in one of the previous podcasts we did. So there's a couple of things that's come up. One of which was I mentioned that I had a reoccurring dream as a child.
I think you described it as a nightmare, actually.
Yeah, as a child it was definitely a nightmare. And then I found out that the place in the dream was actually a real place.
Ooh.
So, and I'd never been there.
Have you been there?
Never been there.
So is that one of the things you want to do?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And that's to do with Dogman, isn't
And there has been Dogman sightings in that area in the
Right.
past. The other Dogman...
it? Wonder what's calling to you, Glenn.
Yeah,
Sensitive to the paranormal.
possibly. Some people have said that some people are more in tune with that side of things than others.
Well, certainly when we had Mickey Baldwin in, who is a medium, spiritual medium, he exactly said what you just said, that some people are that much more attuned. And some people are attuned without realising it. They experience things and don't sort of put two and two together. Then I don't quite understand why they are experiencing these kind of moments of either deja vu or, as you've described, recurring dreams of a place that they don't seem to have ever been, but then it turns out it's an actual real place.
Yeah,
and they've seen it so vivid.
That's not the first time that's happened to me either. So I had a dream about this place again. I was probably maybe a young teenager, 13, 14 years old, and I had a dream about this particular place. And then the girl I was dating at the time, she had to go to a conference in London, and we went to this building, and this building had a large courtyard, and it was the same place in that dream.
Wow. Strange how these things can happen then.
Yeah. Although it's... yeah. I mean, that was a weird dream. I think Godzilla might have been in that dream as well.
Oh, yeah. Now we're talking.
Oh, don't.
Maybe I had a lot of cheese that night.
How long until November for Godzilla Day?
There you go. Well, you say that last night, for some bizarre reason, I was having visions of owls getting in the way of one of my night vision cameras, and they were being really annoying because these flipping owls would not get out of the way, and then I ended up having to tempt them out of the way by feeding them a ham sandwich.
So what you were saying is they were being a bunch of twits.
No, twit-twoos, yeah, that's it.
Ha-ha.
Aha. Yeah, but there you go. Strange how the old subconscious mind works when you're asleep.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what is the overall feeling from the kind of Bigfoot fraternity? Are we still really sure they're out there to be found, or is there still...
Oh, definitely, they're out there. So this is one of my gripes. Now, I mentioned earlier that Ronnie's doing this this thing out in Massachusetts, and a couple of the other US researchers are doing other trips as well, where people can pay a certain amount of money and go with them. Now, I don't think that's going to result in anything. If you're a creature like Bigfoot, it's going to steer clear of a large crowd of people.
I would agree. I
If
mean, just
you're-
dealing with any kind of nature, any kind of species that have got a heightened sense, smell, sight, night vision, day vision, whatever.
Yeah.
If you're going to go out there in a group, they're going to be they'll be heading off in the opposite direction.
I'd be happy to go on one of these trips, just to be around like-minded people.
Yeah.
But
The experience probably
Yeah.
is what it's all about. The experience.
But no, when I do get out there,
I'd say if you could get a large group of people, I mean, even the scent, you get picked up, with a lot of scent there, a
Yeah.
big group of people.
exactly, yeah.
You really need to be in a place, I would imagine, where you are happy to stay and literally stay very quiet, very still for a very long time. I mean, you just look at the videographers on shows like Blue Planet and are doing that, and they can be there literally for months trying to catch a little footage of, say, a snow leopard or something like that. And they're there, and they are there, and they are there, and it takes such a lot of effort.
Yeah.
And they usually have, obviously, trackers from the local area saying, look, we've seen them in this area, and they try and track them down. But you can't expect just to walk out there and go, wow, snow
look at
leopard. Wow, Bigfoot,
Exactly, yeah. So, I mean, this is why when I do get out there, I will be going on my own.
Glenn,
Yes.
are you sure we'll come back? Yeah, we know.
Wear your tracker.
Yeah, wear your
It's-
tracker, please.
If you step through one of these portals.
Yeah,
I
we
would-
will know.
I will definitely be taking precautions like trackers and sat phones and
Be like Indiana Jones, where we find a tomb
A tomb?
when he's got a watch on.
Oh, yes.
The
the time.
anachronistic
Yes.
technology.
The technology, and suddenly there's a modern watch. Yeah. Okay. Oh no, because it might be that scene from the $6 Million Man replayed all over again. It's the aliens, and they've got the Bigfoot cyborg.
Well, funny enough, that's something else that came up on the Bigfoot Bash when they were talking. One of the questions came out, and it's a question that I've posed as well to myself a few times. Are the government aware of the situation with Bigfoot? And I mean, Ronnie was straight away absolutely yes.
Well, I would have thought from what you told us about other things to do with Mount St. Helens and with President walks softly, walk softly and carry a big stick. Yeah, all these things would point towards that if there is something out there, then they definitely know about it.
Yeah, I mean, Ronnie mentioned something which I actually read a little while ago was Bigfoot type creatures have been seen on military bases.
Right.
Also, there is a training manual for
Encounters with a Bigfoot.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That would be brilliant, wouldn't it?
We'll have to do a podcast on that.
Okay, recruits, today.
So I've been trying to find a copy, but there is a military training manual, and it says beware of these certain creatures when training in the US, and Bigfoot is on one
On
of
the
those.
list.
Yeah.
Ooh.
No,
Which brings well, interest. If the military feel that there's a need to point that out, have you not had any kind of servicemen, military people that have said where they've been out on an exercise, like, in the deep forest in the States, that suddenly they've been presented with?
Some people have come forward, but
Or do they not want to speak about it?
Or
No,
maybe they
well-
disappeared.
they've spoken about it, but they've been reluctant to give their identity away.
Right. Because I would have thought these days, since the American military have kind of really eased up on the UFOs or UAPs as they're now known, they in fact now it would seem they're encouraging pilots to report any unusual
Well, it makes
sightings.
sense, doesn't it?
And they look into the video, and they're even releasing the stuff. And as we've said before in our UFO podcast, the military have actually said these things do exist, and they're starting to kind of almost push as if they want the general public to accept that this is the thing.
Releasing information, dribs and drabs.
Waiting for the big announcement, almost, you could say. So I'm
I
surprised.
mean, I
they're
can't
not-
remember if I mentioned before, but there was a rumour kicking around for quite some time about a false flag event to bring the world together under one government of an
Right.
alien invasion.
Yes. Well, I see conspiracy stuff all day long. And there's one that's been kicking around for the past few weeks, which I haven't bothered to look into, but supposedly there is NASA video or as evidence from NASA that there is a huge armada of spaceships currently heading towards the Earth.
that's nice.
It keeps popping up on my timeline.
Well, that could be the start of that false flag invasion.
Maybe they're all Tom Cruise, based upon the film Oblivion, where they're literally an invasion of Tom Cruise.
It was Tom Cruise. And they had to stay in different sectors so he didn't bump into himself. That one. But and again, it does. There's another one that's all sort of conspiracy theories fly around everywhere as always. There's the Exodus initiative, where the whole point. It's a bit like that film that I showed you. You hadn't seen, and it was
You have to be a bit more specific than that film.
The one where they have to get off the Earth because another planet.
When worlds collide.
That's it. When worlds collide. I don't know if you
movie.
remember that movie. It's a 1950s one, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's got the Exodus initiative, where that's the whole point behind this big push by corporate companies such as Blue Origin and SpaceX to really, that's why they keep testing the rockets.
Yeah, that's
and the rockets that can carry up to 100 people in them. You see, because they keep making a big deal about these rockets. What's the rocket called they have? Oh, the SpaceX rocket.
The small one is the Dragon, isn't it?
And they keep saying that it can carry up to 100 people. So of course this is now sort of brought forward the Exodus initiative, where something is going to happen.
Well, it's something.
And they're trying to get these things to work as quick as possible so they can get up to the moon and get out of the way.
It's something that's been around, talked about for quite a few years, and that is Planet X, also known as Nibiru.
So Naboo, did you say?
And Nibiru.
I was going to say, Me's are coming. Me's, no, we don't want to be invaded by Jar Jar Binkses. Please, no, that would be.
What's worse, Jar Jar Binks or Tom Cruise?
Apparently, it's
leave Tom Cruise alone.
Apparently, it's another planet in our solar system, but it's.
Oh, don't tell me it's like Gore.
A Gore?
Don't tell me it's like
the
Godzilla,
counter Earth. It's on the opposite side of the sun. So we can't see it because it's always in permanent opposite orbit to us.
Not so much that, but more its orbit is so wide, but it only comes round every few thousand years.
Right. Okay.
And apparently that was due, I think, last Wednesday.
It's a bit late. So there's a.
No, I'm joking about that bit. But
Okay.
No, that's one of those.
We missed it.
So what's this planet called again?
Nibiru.
Nibiru, and that's meant to land slowly walks through the solar system. Then.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Interesting.
I mean, there's supposed to be a Planet X around Jupiter, according to Godzilla movies.
I don't think we could take Godzilla movies as being, verbatim science. No.
Oh, what are you saying?
I think there's more likelihood of having counter Earth on the far side of the sun.
Monarch isn't a real thing.
Or maybe it is.
Oh, well, there you go. But no, so they're all trying to exodus as quickly as possible to get to the moon and all this. We've got to build a moon base ASAP. So
I mean, if something's going to hit this planet and cause that much damage, I don't think the moon is going to be that safe either.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if you got the money, they're taking their chances. But anyway, that's the conspiracy theory.
Of course, the moon is a space station.
Oh, built by the aliens. That's why it doesn't turn round. That's why we only ever see one side of it. It's really funny, that is. You get into the conspiracy theorists to say, why are there never any photos of the other side of the moon? And there are! Because they've got orbiting satellites that have mapped the whole of the moon. Come on! And then I saw somebody put a picture up of the far side of the moon, because it's not called the dark side of the moon, which was the band who did the album Dark Side of the Moon. I can't remember.
I was thinking
but
Transformers.
they always say the dark side of the moon, but it's
Pink
not.
Floyd.
It's not dark because it orbits us and goes between us and the sun, and sometimes it's dark and sometimes it's not, depending on where the shadow of the Earth is and where the rotation of the moon is, where the moon going around the Earth. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the point I'm trying to say is, it's the far side of the moon.
I suppose it's dark.
And then somebody put a photograph up and said, "Here you go. This is from the lunar orbiter who's mapped it. There's a photo." And they said, "That's fake." That's AI. It's AI. It's fake.
CGI.
So you go, there's no hope, really. It doesn't matter. There's no hope. In this day and age with AI and everything, people are just going to just say,
Maybe we are just AI. It's
Oh,
going
no.
back to simulation theory.
No, we did that. The other one, I don't know if you listened to our simulation theory podcast.
I've not seen it yet, but
You won't see it. It's a podcast, Glenn. But I'm just.
I've not heard
But
it
it's
yet.
a simulation theory, so you might see it. Who knows?
have
If it's got lots of different sort of numbers in green coming down.
Yeah. Well, I think I mentioned before about the in Hawaii
Hawaii.
when those green laser signage.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
you
That's
did
ringing
mention
a bell.
that. Yeah, you did mention that.
It's quite
The strange matrix thing of Hawaii.
It's just a kid with a laser pointer.
Yeah, it'd be crazy.
Trying to take down planes.
Oh no! Don't do that, kids. That's not allowed.
No.
Anyway, fascinating stuff. Fascinating stuff. So yeah, we got a lot to be talking about, and we're going to be coming back to this whole subject of cryptozoology in July because that's where. God, what day is it? Do you remember? I think it's the 12th or something. I can't remember. But anyway, we've got the Cryptozoology Conference in July, and we will be there.
Yes.
We will be doing a podcast all about it. And Glenn will be there,
I will be there.
and we're going to and you can be our host while we're there if you like, and show, so point people out and say, look, it's him. Look, it's him. Because everybody's name begins with R.
Yeah.
Right, those guys won't actually be at that one.
Right. Okay.
It's going to be a few other guys.
Okay. So we'll find out. But I'm fascinated because I think that particular one is going to cover so many other subjects, isn't it?
Yeah, the one guy who is going to be there, I'm looking forward to meeting Brian King Sharp because he's very centred, very former law
Level-headed, isn't he?
enforcement. Yeah. So yeah, and he's
What's his specialised subject?
Bigfoot.
It's Bigfoot.
It is Bigfoot. Yeah.
Okay, so that'd be fantastic. Anyway, so that leaves us to...
Well, I have one more question.
Oh, you do?
And that is, Glenn, you've come in to talk about so many different cryptids and things. Is there anything else we can look forward to? Any other cryptids
that we
that
haven't
you'd
covered.
like to talk about in a future podcast? Potentially. In the future.
I'm getting worried. There's this big, long, pregnant pause. I'm waiting for it to go, no.
No. I would quite like to talk about Megalodon.
Ooh.
Megalodon.
Sharky sharks.
Sharks.
Yeah.
We do like a good Meg movie, don't we?
Yes.
As do I.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, okay, Megalodon.
I can bring a list.
Yes, let's do shark movies and Megalodon. That would be a good one, wouldn't
Okay.
it?
Yeah, I like it.
Yay! So you can find out the movie with the shark that's got the most heads.
That's not a megalodon. That's just a silly shark.
That's a silly shark. I've seen those movies.
Sharktopus, ghost shark, cocaine shark.
And they got
Atomic shark.
They got 6-headed shark. Or something.
Yeah, there it goes. 2-headed shark, 3-headed shark, 5-headed shark, 6-headed shark.
Save it for the podcast, Zach. Save it for the Sharknado. Save it. Enough now. Enough. Calm down. Save it for the Megalodon podcast.
Watch Monster Armageddon if you haven't. That's a weird one.
Stop it. Okay. Save it.
Okay.
Anyway, we're going to come back talking about Megalodon. And we're going to round off this week's podcast with Wisdom of the Week. You could have joined in with that, Glenn.
My apologies.
It doesn't matter.
Do it again.
Wisdom of the Week.
There we go.
That worked.
It
Okay,
works.
so...
Okay, the wisdom of the week.
It's you, Zach.
I brought in the wisdom.
Go for it.
Okay.
The wisdom.
The wisdom is, I never lose. I either win or learn.
There you go. So that's the way to look at it. That you never lose. You either win or learn.
And learning is fun.
Exactly. Very important.
Especially on the Now We Know show.
Absolutely.
Especially when we're covering Megalodon. Yay. Anyway, Glenn, it's been an absolute pleasure having you in the
It's been
studio again.
fantastic. Thank
we
you
love
for
you coming
having
in.
me.
You're going to be able to go home now, look after your poor dog. What's your dog's name?
Sandy.
Sandy. Look after Sandy and get yourself a good night's sleep because I think you need it after the
You deserve it.
mileage you've been driving around the country over the past few days.
Yeah.
You know? Anyway, so there we go. Bigfoot Bash update. Huzzah.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to this channel and comment below any suggestions of topics or activities you'd like to listen to in future episodes. That's a big crypto goodbye from Zach.
That's is there a grey ape creature around Thetford? Goodbye from Buzz.
And that's an abominable good night from Glenn.
Goodbye.
You can find the Now We Know Show podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. Keep up to date with everything ZWP on Facebook and Instagram, or visit the Zak Wylde Productions website at www.zakwyldeproductions.com. And remember to join us on Patreon or become a YouTube member for early access content and exclusive episodes.